and welcome to Tech and Learning Future-Proofing Your District Plan Conference. A special thank you to our sponsors Catch On, Classcraft, FileWave, Global Teletherapy, GradeCam, Sanford Programs, and thank you to all our association partners. Today's virtual conference is focused on taking the lessons learned from current remote learning programs to create long-term plans to support effective teaching and learning both online and in person. I want to remind everyone to log into the Conference Hub using the link sent in your confirmation email. Once you are logged in, you can visit a sponsor booth to learn about their offerings and book a meeting or live chat with them. See your personalized agenda. Network with over 1,000 attendees via the registrant directory and chat features. Access the event recordings via download section and win prizes. Throughout the Conference Hub, you will find several buttons to enter yourself into a passport to prizes. Please visit all the pages using the navigation bar on top of the page. Every time you find a button and fill in the form, you will earn one entry into the raffle. All entries are eligible for a series of prize prizes. Only one prize per participant. You can enter once for every button you find. We will announce winners via email at the end of the conference. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions for the presenters during the webinar, please submit them through the Zoom chat. Please know we capture all questions and our presenters are happy to answer them as time permits. Today's slides and additional resource materials are available and may be accessed within the Download tab of the Conference Hub. We encourage you to download any resources that you may find useful. Be sure to use the conference hashtag #TLTechLive in social posts. Please join me in thanking our terrific speakers. I also want to thank you for joining us today. Please join me in welcoming our presenter, Angela Maiers.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. We're going to do things just a little bit different. It's just me and my whiteboard, and I just want to connect with you at a deep level. So I'm going to do something a little bit different and ask you to close your eyes. Don't go to sleep, but just close your eyes. And I really want you to do it. I can't see in the chat, so I'm trusting you, Scout's honor, to close your eyes. And I want you to listen very carefully. You are a gift in my life. You are incredible. You never cease to amaze me. I so appreciate you. You bring so much joy to my world. You are so very kind. Every time I see you, I can't help but smile. I couldn't imagine doing this without you. You matter. I want you to just let that sink in. When is the last time that you heard those words from somebody you care about, from somebody you work with, from somebody you live with? I want you to just write in the chat, say good morning, and tell me one word about how you're feeling right now. Don't think about it too much, but just one word that describes what it feels like to hear words like that. So I'm going to wait for a second and have you write that in the chat. Oh, I love seeing these kinds of words. Appreciated, blessed. It is emotional. It is very emotional. It doesn't seem like it would be that valued, thankful, loved, elevated, uplifting. Imagine if we had the power to help others and the power within ourselves to enter the world feeling those things every day. I know education is a lot about what we're thinking and what we know, but life is processed through how we feel. It is directly related to our energy. So imagine the energy if you felt valued, uplifted, thankful, appreciative, loved every single day, and that was inside of you, and you entered the world. This is not a pipe dream. Feelings like this, I'm going to put these up here for you. It is not surprising at all that you feel any or all of these things. This is a DNA level craving. This isn't ego driving these feelings. This is DNA driving these feelings. We need, as human beings, to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. These are the building blocks of our humanity. I'm going to do this. I had this all organized. There we go. To be seen, to be heard, to be valued, to understand that we're essential. When somebody says to us, I couldn't have imagined doing that without you. I wouldn't have made it if I didn't have you right there by my side or right there in my heart. These are the center points to feeling like we matter. They are the component parts and the conditions of our humanity. And if we have any hopes of changing lives and changing the world, which is what we do as teachers, that's our job. We change lives and we change the world. If we have any hope in accomplishing that, either individually or collectively, we have to understand that for humanity to triumph, these conditions must be present. Not every once in a while on a special day. This isn't like Teacher Mattering Day or Secretary Mattering Day. These building blocks are as essential to our life, to our learning, to our well-being as food, water, shelter, and air. And we must treat them as such. We don't just stumble upon this, just like we don't just stumble upon wondering if we're going to eat or if we're going to breathe. We understand that those are priorities, and we build agendas and we build schedules around time dedicated to these components. And I'm going to show you how to do that today in your classrooms, in your life, in the world, through very small, concrete, yet deliberate actions. I'm going to give you 5 actions today that touch each and every one of these touch points. Are you ready for that? Give me a thumbs up. Have you used your emojis yet in your chat? You got to use your emojis in the chat. All right, so let's take these off for a second and start with the first one. To be seen. To be seen sounds like such a basic thing, and yet it is a craving that every human being that you encounter, every human being, no matter what age, no matter what height, no matter what grade, no matter where you encounter them, they are asking a very simple question. Do you see me? Now, we might not articulate that question consciously. We may never say it out loud, but every human being goes into the world every day, not hoping, but deserving to be seen. When I started moving, I've taught every grade from preschool to grad school. And so when you're around 4 and 5-year-olds, this is not an issue. If you don't see them, if you don't notice them, they will make sure that you do. And as I started moving throughout the grade levels, I started seeing not only a decline in engagement, but a decline in passion, a decline in just liveliness. And I started wondering why. Because when I was teaching and when I saw kids at kindergarten, they didn't just walk to school, they ran to school. School was a get to do. So I wondered, when and where do things turn from school being a get to do to school being a have to do? And so I asked 500,000 kids, not 1, not 5, not 10, 500,000 kids. I asked them a simple question. What would make you run to school? So think about how powerful that question is, how much data that gives us. What would make you run to school? And when the research came back, the number one answer was if someone said my name and someone smiled at me. And I thought, this has to be wrong. At that time, I was teaching first grade. So they're still in that phase where being seen is just a part of it's like breathing to them. So I started going back and started doing what we call in business, taking the customer's journey, and recognize that as you move through the grades, you could literally go all day. You could go all week. You could go all semester without someone saying your name, because we start referring to kids as students. And it makes sense. The most important word, the most critical acknowledgement of you as a human being is your name. It matters to us. It not only matters in how it how it was selected and how it attaches to our identity and our behavior, but our names matter. And as we move through the world, we are not that conscious about looking people in the eye, smiling at them, saying their name. So think about how we wander through the world. Like, we get to school and we're so worried about what we're going to be planning. We might be behind our desks. We might be scurrying around getting the lesson, ready. But where do kindergarten teachers stand? Outside the door, because they greet every person. They look them in the eye. They say their name. They point out something. They promise kids, no matter what happens today, you matter here and you will be seen. So I've really taken this research to heart, this idea that people don't just wish to be seen or desire to be seen, they deserve to be seen. So I've made it, for the last probably decade and a half, a deliberate practice to everywhere I go to put down my device, or to not fiddle around, whether I'm in the grocery store, or I'm checking out at Walmart, or I'm at the airport, which I can't even remember now, but I'm doing all these things. I take 5 seconds, I look the person in the eye. So I'm just gonna imagine Keisha, because she was just on. I'm gonna say, hi Keisha, how are you doing today? And no matter what is happening, just that second, it diffuses people. Using their name grabs their attention at a deeper, more profound level. So I'm going to offer you a challenge today. First of all, I want everybody to feel noticed and seen. So in the chat, I know you welcomed yourself, but find somebody in there and actually say their name. Just say, so I see Nikki right now. I see Alicia right now. I feel like that commercial, like, I see through my window, I see Lisa, I see Maria, I see Keisha. So I want you to just find a single person in the chat and take a minute and say your name and say theirs. Hi, Shannon, I'm Angela. It is great to be here, and whatever you want to say after that. And I really want to give you 15 seconds to show you that it really is just something that takes that long. And it makes a difference. You're looking in the chat to say, oh, did somebody say my name? Did somebody say my name? We're just bigger 5-year-olds. Nice. This just makes me smile seeing this. Great. And now I'm going to take the challenge even further. I want you, for just the next 24 hours or 48 hours, to deliberately, when you are engaging with people, look them in the eye, smile, especially on the days you don't feel like smiling. That's when I go into high gear. On the days where I feel a little bit grumpy, I am even more intentional about looking people in the eyes, smiling at them, and saying their name. And I promise you, it changes everything. It changes everything. Don't believe me, do your own research. So, to be seen, a critical need for humanity. To be heard, to be heard. So I want you to think about a fun fact that I just learned. I love learning new science facts. That being listened to is so close to the feeling of being loved that your brain cannot differentiate the difference. So I want you to think about that. Being listened to and really heard is so close biologically, physiologically, to being loved or feeling loved and secure that your brain doesn't process the difference. Think of how valuable it is to be listened to, and how often in our lives we talk, we share, we work really hard to communicate, and sometimes we walk away and think, they didn't hear a word I said. They did not hear a word I said. The foundation of respect and honor and love and empathy and compassion, all those things we seek to be as human beings, begins with listening. And the problem is that it's not a simple skill. We've made it a simple skill. Like, just look at somebody, nod your head, and we talk about active listening, but that's actually not listening. It's active conversation. It is how we're wired. And it's not discourteous. We are wired as social human beings. Our brains are set up to interact. So active listening is active conversation. It's active engagement, but it is not active listening, because what's happening is while we are processing what the other person is saying, we are thinking about things that connect to what we might want to say. We're preparing for what we're going to say in response to that. We're ad-libbing and adjusting what we hear from them. That's active engagement and conversation, but it is not active listening. So listening, what I call listening loudly, is about actually exercising the act of helping someone be heard. And it requires your 1000% full presence and full concentration. So if I was with you live, we would go through this together. And I've done this with up to 1,500 kids at a time in an auditorium. And trust me, it's really hard, whether it's 1 or 1,500, because we're actually fighting our biology. We're fighting what is natural to us, which is to respond and react and say, oh my gosh, that's so awesome, or I never knew that, or oh my gosh, did you hear about this? We want to add to the conversation. That is not listening loudly. Not bad, but something different. So here's how listening loudly works. So imagine that I'm sitting eye to eye and knee to knee, that you're right there and I'm right here. I'm going to give you, I actually time this, I'm going to give you 1 minute to talk about something that matters with you. And sometimes I put parameters around what I want them to talk about, but mostly this is about the practice of the muscle of listening. So you speak for 30 seconds for a minute, and my job is with every fiber of my being, my face, my heart, my body, my soul, to be fully present with you, so much so that I can repeat back to you every single thing you said in your words, not mine. In your words, not mine. And that is really hard, because you have to block out your brain from it responding, engaging, reacting, reframing what it was. Even if all of that is positive, that's not the job of listening. And to watch the other person's reaction, to actually hear their own words repeated back to them, they discover things about themselves that they didn't even know, because sometimes we don't know what we know, or we can't express what we feel until we said it out loud. And then we flip spots. And I usually do 3 rounds of that. And it's really, really powerful. And I know we can't do that with each other, but what we can do is prepare for the next time that we want to listen loudly to each other. So what I'm going to ask you to think about is what Warren Berger, one of my favorite authors, calls beautiful questions. Beautiful questions are questions that are actionable, because they shift the way you think, the way you perceive, the way you might behave, and they serve as a catalyst for change. And so from that criteria, I've created lists of beautiful questions that we can ask each other that do exactly that, that you want and you desire to know about another person, that it's worthy of listening loudly to. Questions like, they can start out really simple, like, tell me about your name. People always have amazing stories about their name. Or another question can be, tell me about your hobbies or what you're passionate about. Or you can go a lot deeper. Tell me about what makes you smile. Tell me what fills your bucket. Tell me how I can help you. Tell me how you'd like to receive feedback from me. And let them speak on that for an hour. I'm not sorry, not for an hour, for a whole minute. Just work that out. Questions that we deserve to know about each other. So what I'm going to do, I have 6 sessions today. And as we think about beautiful questions, I want you to take a minute in the chat and write a beautiful question that would help you shift the way you might think and act and behave around a person that you want to know that they're heard from you. So there's no right or wrong. That's the beautiful thing. Beautiful questions are ambiguous. But there's all kinds of reasons to ask these questions of each other. So take a minute, and what I'm going to do, what I'm going to promise you is at the end of this, I'm going to go through all the chats, and I'm going to get, ooh, I love that. What are 2 of your deepest values? Imagine trying to talk only a minute on that. I'm going to pull these together, and I'll write a list of beautiful questions that we have curated and co-created, and put them, hopefully we'll put them to use, so that the people in our presence not only feel seen by us, but they feel heard by us. I'm going to give you a minute to actually do that. It's so hard not seeing you. I just want you to know that. Like, I keep gravitating to the chat because I see your names and I see you writing, and it just warms my heart that you're here, that you're giving your time, that we're having this conversation. But I hate that I cannot see your face. And if I did, I would say your name, I would smile, and I'd probably give you a giant hug, even though I know we can't do that right now. All right. The next essential need is to understand not only that we are of value to someone else, not only that we just simply exist, but that our existence is important, that it adds value, and not only to be of value to someone, but to actually hear what that value is, to know the value that we bring so that we can continue to be increased in that. And this, again, these are common sense things, but not commonplace and common practice unless we build these into our agenda and into our day. So I want to ask you a beautiful question. When is the last time someone gave you a front row seat to your brilliance? Think about that. Every single one of you has a genius inside of you, has something extraordinary and brilliant that brings value at almost unconscious levels. When is the last time someone gave you a front row seat to that, actually articulated for you what value you do bring? And you don't have to answer that in the chat, but I think it's an important question, because one of the patterns that I've noticed over being in education and being and studying human beings for over 3 decades is that we are born believing in our potential. Have you ever met a shy 3-year-old? Have you ever met a self-conscious 4-year-old? Heck no. They own their genius. They enter the day and they enter the world ready to bring full value to it. And somewhere along the way, we start doubting who we are. We start doubting that what we bring to the world is enough. Is it good enough? Is it big enough? Is it bright enough? Is it blah, blah, blah? And I really believe, because part of it is we aren't practiced at articulating the value we bring to one another. So I want to tell you that this was a great scientific discovery, but I really believe every lesson I've learned in my life has come from being around 5-year-olds. And my very first year of teaching, 33 years ago, I started when I was 12, of course, but 33 years ago, I was week 2 into 28 5-year-olds who absolutely demanded to be seen, demanded to be heard, and understood their value and wanted me to notice and be aware of it as well. The problem was that they all wanted me to notice them at the same time. So I will never forget this day. I was super exhausted, and I'm like, I just can't keep up. So I sat them all down and I said, okay, guys, you are brilliant. You are amazing. I am stunned every day that I get to be in your presence, but I can't notice your genius every single day. So I made a little schedule for us. So I literally did. I got my little chart out, my little chart stand. I'm like, okay, on Monday, you 5, I'm going to notice you. On Tuesday, you 5, I'm going to notice your genius. On Wednesday, and I literally plopped that up in the middle of our room. And I said, I know you're doing something amazing every day. And I know you bring yourself every day. It's just, I don't have time in the day to really stop and pay attention and notice the genius in our classroom. So I started doing that. And it was such a profound shift for me, because I have been trained as a coach. I've been trained in reading recovery. I've been trained to coach, to teach, to give value by correcting or adjusting or giving advice. But to stand, and I gave each one of the kids 1 minute. So it was just 5 minutes of my day, and it was 1 minute any time of my day. And so sometimes it was in recess, sometimes it was standing in the line going to the bathroom, sometimes it was just in the morning when everybody's getting ready. The point was, my only agenda was to be present, fully present in their present, and see their brilliance of who they were right now, not when they finished their math or after they corrected their reading or only if they got this done in the format that I wanted, but who they were now in their essence. They mattered. And so it was extraordinary, because you started noticing things that you didn't notice with the lens of math or science or whatever it is. And just standing watching people in their essence with your full presence doesn't just change them, it changes you. So I started keeping track, because I'm like, that's my first instinct as a writer, is to write it down. So I literally started carrying around a noticing notebook. And so I would just meet with somebody and I'd write it down. It was mostly for me. And the kids, of course, are like, what did you write down in your notebook about me? What did you write down? And I started writing down, like, it was such a joy to see you light up when you found a book that you liked. Or I loved seeing you play with others. You're so kind to others, or whatever it was. It just was something simple that made me go, wow, look at this little human being in my presence that I get to be with, that we get to be around every day. And so what started happening as this schedule came more and more routine is our class took over the job of noticing. And so I just left the notebook on my desk and set it out, and they'd be like, oh, Mrs. Maiers, I know it's not Wednesday, but Karen did something amazing today. Do you mind if I write down what I noticed in your notebook? And they would just go write a little picture or write something down. And so instead of it being on my shoulders, we became this community of noticers and appreciators and spectators at the deepest level, never underestimating that the reason school was a get to do is because of who we got to do it with. I absolutely believe that we are in the presence of genius every single day. The question is, are we going to take time to notice and note it? And what I learned is that putting it in a notebook was a way to give kids, and now anyone, a front row seat to their brilliance. It's one thing for me to notice the value someone brings. It's another thing for me to say, hey, wait, could you repeat that? I need to write that down right now. That was brilliant. That was amazing. And that act was extraordinary. It allowed people to see what impact they had on other people and to step up and into their full potential. It changed everything. And this is a practice that I've kept. I brought like 8 of my noticing notebooks. This is a practice I've kept for 32 years. Every day you have the opportunity to be wowed by another person and to write that down and to notice and then to say something. We even got really radical with this, and those little mini flashlights. So once a week, we would just grab a student any day of the week. We would just grab a kid, and I had this really cool like rocking chair at the front of the room, and we had flashlights, and we literally shined a light on their brilliance, and kids came around the board and wrote what they noticed all week about that person. So if you can imagine this little one sitting right here with the flashlight shined on them because everyone needed to see. And then they got a front row seat to that because we noted what we noticed. Now, I'm not saying you have to go that far, but imagine mentally if you put your husband or your boyfriend or your children or anyone in your life, have they had a chance to experience getting a front row seat to their brilliance? So to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, these are not niceties. They are not luxuries. They're DNA level driven necessities. They are food, water, shelter, and air for our soul. I lost my, oh, here it is. To be essential. Action number 4. One of the things that I love doing is helping people understand, helping people understand the statement that the world would be less than without them. This is deeper than a compliment. This is what I call a lasting compliment, something that reminds them at the soul level that they must show up the next day. They must be fully who they are the next day, because the world and my life and our life would be less than without them. And that's quite honestly people's deepest fears. If I was gone, would I be missed? And that could be if I was gone from work for a week, if I was gone from the world for a week, if I was gone from Twitter for 140 characters. That's what's driving social media. This need to be seen, to be heard, to be noticed. But ultimately, the deepest driver and reward is understanding that you would be missed if you didn't show up. A friend of mine who I really, really respect is having a hard time, and he's one of my first go-to people on social media. He brings such thoughtful insight to the world, everything from education to politics. And this morning he wrote that he was taking a break from social media, that it was too much for him, that his heart was hurting. That's how he started the morning. My heart is hurting. And to look on there, I was up early, so I was one of the first commenters, but to look on there and there's 38 comments saying, take care of your heart, take care of your soul, but you will be missed, but you will be missed, but it will be different without you. That's the greatest reward as a human being. So I want to talk to you about how we articulate something so deep like essentialness to the people in our presence. We got to go back in order to do that. We have to go back and look a little bit. My background's linguistic, so sorry. I got to bring this up. So if you actually look at the anatomy of how we interchange positives with each other, it is amazing that 85% of the compliments or the positive affirmations we give one another all have the same sentence structure and syntax, and they come down to these two. This is what I call a noun. Your noun looks so adjective. Your noun looks so adjective. So think about it. Your noun, which could be, and I'll show you this a little bit closer. Can you see that? So your noun could be your hair. Your hair looks really nice today. Your smile is so pretty. Your car is very awesome, or whatever it is. Or this syntax, which is, I really like your shirt. I really like your house. I really like, whatever it is. These aren't bad, but they are fleeting. They're fleeting. They often are misinterpreted as something surface that you don't actually believe that people mean it. So in studying words that actually have an impact and how putting words together in thoughtful ways make a difference, we can turn what we call a surface compliment into a lasting compliment with, and I'm going to give you all of this, you guys, so you don't have to remember that, to the language of mattering. So when I speak to people about their essentialness, I'm basically saying, you matter because. My life would be less than because. Or what I love and cherish and value that's essential to me. You don't have to use deep words like essentialness and significance, but what you're saying is you're not pointing out to what they have or what they do. You're pointing out who they are at the soul level. And it takes some time to build words like that. So I'm going to give you this. I have like 5 pages of the language of mattering. This is just a sparkle of them, but I have a chart. I'll put that in the chat room. And start out by just saying to yourself, like, you matter because, and try to fill in the because. So if you're going to give somebody a compliment, that doesn't mean you don't tell somebody that their hair looks good, or especially after they haven't had a haircut for 87 weeks, but that doesn't mean you alleviate compliments, but it means that you also build in and grow your ability to articulate how people matter, not just that they matter, that you see them and you hear them, but why they matter so much to you, so much to others, and so much to the world. So the final act, the final, I guess, this isn't really an activity or an action. This is a call to action. I have been listening to the world. I've been watching the world as you have, as we're going through this really dark, hard, difficult time. I did a small survey in, I think it was last week, and about 2,000, I sent it to educators, but probably about 2,700 human beings, because remember, these are human acts. Human beings answered the calling. And what I asked them was this simple, beautiful question. What do you need right now? What do you need right now most? And so I'm going to ask you that. So just put in the chat, what do you need right now? I'm going to give you a couple minutes and call your name, Jesse, Kim, Nikki. mm, mm. Mm. Normalcy. What is that? That's going to be a new word. Human contact, balance, hope. So I put all those words into a word cloud, which I couldn't make into a poster. But at the foundation of all of this, whether it was human contact or understanding or patience or empathy, at the foundation of that is hope. We need hope. And when I thought of the idea of first responders, I know that our bodies need healing. Absolutely, our bodies need healing. And we have people on the front lines doing that. And they're not invisible anymore, which is incredible. But there's another kind of healing that needs to go on. And that is healing through hope. Because all those things that you talked about, even though we don't have certainty and we don't know what normalcy is going to be, hope is what gets us through that. And if you think about at the core who we are as educators, our profession is the profession of hope. We exist so people believe in their potential to contribute to something better. We are dispensers of hope. So on June 4th, I'm calling you to join me in sharing the language of mattering, not just with your kids, but with the world. I have partnered with a platform, a brand called Canva, and I know many of you probably use Canva, but they make these beautiful templates that you can put on Facebook, on Twitter. They take design and democratize design, where you used to have to hire a designer to make a beautiful poster or a flyer or a presentation, and now you can just go to Canva and browse the thousands and thousands of templates. So they are creating some very special templates embedded with the language of mattering that can be customized across every platform, even TikTok, I hear. And who better to share those messages? Who better to lead this revolution of hope that the world definitely needs? We are the frontline workers to our kids and to the world's soul. So on June 4th, and I'll send you more about it, I'm asking you to take everything you know about who we are and what we do, and not only spread hope to our kids, but spread hope to the world. And that isn't just a selfish call to action, because you might be thinking like, I'm barely hanging on. How can I do this when I don't even know or feel like I matter right now? Here's the uniqueness, I guess, the essence of mattering, that the deepest driver of human behavior, the deepest pathway to hope and wholeness and healing, is to know that you are a part of something bigger, and to know that you have taken action with everything you are to make someone else's life better. I know it seems a little counterproductive. One of the beginning researchers that I was following was a man named Viktor Frankl. And Victor was an Auschwitz survivor, and on just insurmountable times that he could have let go, but he was randomly selected to have 5 aspirin a day. 5 aspirin a day that he had to dispense. He was the dispenser of hope to hang on one more day, literally, physically, emotionally. And he said what got him through all of that was, and his book is called A Man's Search for Meaning, is that he knew he mattered. He knew, this is emotional, sorry. He knew he mattered, at least to those 5. And when you know you matter, when you know somebody can be brought out of darkness, even if you're in that darkness yourself, it changes you. It makes you hang on. It makes you more hopeful. And there's momentum behind that. And that's what hope is. Hope doesn't sustain unless it's nurtured, unless it's momentum. So I invite you to be the model of what mattering, true mattering looks like, to be a dispenser of hope with me and thousands of teachers around the world. And all of the templates are free, or you can make your own, and they don't have to be difficult. But I want you to know that these small acts, these small actions collectively are as contagious as this virus is, and all the negativity and all the apathy and anger that come with it. The antidote to all of that is hope, and you are the dispenser of it. So let's recap for a sec. We've talked about mattering. We've talked about these component parts of humanity, these conditions of being human, to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, and to know you're essential. And when they exist, we thrive. And when even one component is not fulfilled, there's a break. There's not only a break in our heart, there's a break in our soul, and there's a break in our potential to come to the world and make the impact that we were born to make. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take amounts of time. It's not complicated, but it absolutely takes discipline and focus. So think of these actions to just look somebody in the eye and say their name. Hi, Tracy. I'm so glad you're here. It made me smile. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for showing up. Nikki, I loved your comments in there. It takes seconds, and it makes all the difference in the world. To practice the art and act of listening, and listen loudly with your heart, with your soul, with your whole being to what is being said, not your response to it. And give people the love of knowing that they were heard by you. To notice and note, whether you put it in a notebook or you don't put it in a notebook, just the act of taking seconds a day and pausing and noticing the world and the people and the beauty and awe around you does something to you, to your soul, to your perspective. In the midst of, and this is what kids teach us as well, in the midst of the worst circumstance, they can find joy and awe and love and beauty, and it does exist. We just have to sometimes take a minute to notice. To work towards giving lasting compliments. Yes, tell me my hair doesn't look so awful because I have not had a haircut since January 5th. But to go deeper than that, to tell one another what we appreciate and value, what's essential about one another in our lives. And finally, to be a force of hope, to dispense it with pride and diligence and honor, and show the world what educators do. We are invisible frontline workers, and the world needs us, and the world needs you. I know each and every one of you came today for a reason, and this is my reason. My reason is whether I can see you face to face, which is so hard for me when all of my events were canceled and I couldn't see and touch you and smile at you and hug you. It makes me question, can we still make can I still make an impact? But this is my reason, to make sure that each and every one of you know how valuable you are. I see you. I value you. I hear you. I am here for you. You matter to me, and you matter to the world. You cannot give up. We are in this together, and we will help one another. We will stay connected, and I will be here for you. Whatever that looks like, whatever it needs as we move forward, I have hope because of you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm sorry. I just miss you. I miss being with you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. Thank you. You matter. Anybody have any comments or questions? I'll put my, make sure you connect with me, and I'll be sharing resources of everything we talked about today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I see you, Helen and Amy and Kristen. Thank you. Kim, thank you. I want you to have a beautiful, beautiful day. And I don't know, do we have the full hour together? I thought we had 45 minutes, but if we have a little bit more time, I'm happy to answer questions. So until they kick me off, I'm going to use this time. So this is one of my favorite reflections. If you can see that, what did you like? What do you wish? And what do you wonder? You can pick any one of those. Oh, I get 5 minutes. Yay, I got 5 minutes. I'm going to take 5 minutes with you. So if you want, just, you don't have to answer any of this. You can just comment whatever you wish. But this is one of my favorite reflections with every grade, with every group. What do you like about today, about how you're feeling right now? What do you wish? And what are you wondering? Is there any questions that I can answer? Oh, good. You feel invigorated. Me too. I can't believe how emotional this is. It really is. What we're doing matters so much, so deeply. And I didn't know if I could communicate that to you without being in your presence. So hopefully you believe me that you matter. Anyone have any questions? Oh my gosh, this time went so fast. I can't even believe it. I thought this would be hard online. I know it's a lot to keep your, to keep your focus and attention online. I so appreciate it. And I thought, oh my gosh, you're gonna be asleep in 8 minutes and you're still here with me. And that like makes me so excited. So the resources will be shared. I think there's a link, maybe somebody from the tech and learning team. I know that there's a link that uploads, and I'll share. I'm pulling together resources right now and I'll get them up there for you. Yeah. Great. Oh, this just makes me, yes. Okay. So we'll put them, there's a conference hub. So we'll put all the resources in the conference hub. So thank you so much for being here. And then that's why I wanted you to connect with me on Twitter, or I'm Angela Maiers everywhere. So Facebook, except for TikTok, because I haven't really gone there yet. So definitely if something that you like or wish or wonder comes up after this, I'm there. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of the conference. It's like a rock star lineup. It's stunning. Great. I love hearing from you. I think it when you consider the first week of school, 5, when it's only online. So we're a testament today that it's not the same, but you can see people, you can hear people, you can ask beautiful questions. That's a really good, because that's what I've been struggling with. Can you communicate with the same authenticness that the people in your world matter, that your kids matter? When you have a screen, like I want to jump through the screen so quickly, and I can't wait for holograms so I can be there. But I think today, and the emotion I'm feeling today, just watching the chat, seeing your names, seeing you interact with each other, there is hope. We can make these deep connections with our kids if we put these human agenda and conditions first and foremost before the content. We get this chat afterwards. So, all right, it looks like I am out of here, you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.